record on this computer.
Okay, we're recorded.
We are recorded. Watch what you say. No green room stuff.
No hot,
Keep it
no hot
clean.
mic embarrassments.
Keep it clean. Hello, everybody. We have some regulars, and then we've got some guest appearances. Steve, I'm putting you in the guest appearance category.
Special guest star.
Right.
I've been demoted.
It's been a while, Steve Atinsky. It's been a while. But you've got some good books. So
You're
we're
a
glad
special
you're
guest star, but you can come back and join the cast at any
here.
time.
Yes, anytime. Yes.
Oh,
So
that's good to know. Thank you.
so oh boy, this spring has got lots of good stuff coming out.
Right
It
on.
is jam-packed with great books. We've got some great events coming up. It's just here we are. We're back in a big way. So I think the order is going to go Tom, Steve, Gabe, and Andrea. And so Tom Benton, take it away.
So my only problem is I came early today, as you can see. That's why I'm first. My problem is that I thought it might just be me and Steve and I. It would be Steve and I could talk for a very long time about the first book.
Okay.
So I'll try to keep it short, but I'm not going to be able to because it's very rare. It doesn't happen very often that I'm able to talk about a new Sebastian Barry novel. So
Oh.
that's Old God's Time, out tomorrow, I think. Yes, tomorrow, I think.
Oh.
Julie?
Yes, I think it is tomorrow.
I think it is. So this is his 9th novel. We've published all of them. I'll get to his place in the literary firmament, the stars, but start with the book. So, and this is, none of them are big, big, thick novels. They're all relatively short, but they're deep. So this book is about a retired policeman, Tom Kettle, who's settling into his home overlooking the Irish Sea, trying to really just forget the past, I would say. And until two colleagues, former colleagues, come to the door about an old case involving pedophilia in the priesthood. And so then that brings up all kinds of ghosts and demons, including, the fact that he's lost his wife, his 2 adult children. He was brought up in an orphanage. His mother was taken to the Magdalene Asylum, when they took unwed mothers away. So it's the deepest, darkest Irish past that comes to the surface. But it's got this, sort of a skeleton of a case that you're following, but it's not a procedural, or if it is a procedural, it's only as Sebastian Barry could do it. So there are ghosts. I feel like there's always ghosts haunting the characters in a Sebastian Barry novel. So now to Sebastian Barry. If you haven't read him, and many people haven't read him, it's like, this is the writer that at Viking, we keep thinking this will be the book. Oh no, the next one, it'll be the book that sends everyone to reading. All right. Finalist for the Booker Prize twice. He was in the long list of the Booker Prize twice. He's won the Costa Book of the Year award. There's no doubt this will be nominated for numerous awards. He's one of, he is now kind of plays the central role as the Irish poet, novelist, playwright, almost like a godfather to generations, of younger writers. So he's really he's the pivotal writer in Ireland, I would say, at this point. But still, he's not well known enough. So that's why it's exciting to have a new novel to talk about. Read this one and the books are connected through family stories, but you don't have to have read one. You don't have to go back to the beginning. You can dip in at any point. But this is connected in a certain way to some of the earlier novels. So, but it's an occasion for me to be, singing his praises. Also, it's already getting the most amazing reviews. So the Atlantic's review is called, the headline is, you should be reading Sebastian Barry. That's the headline. And they say, a beautiful tragic book about an old policeman with a buckled heart, who's assailed at great length and yet enjoys streaks of jubilance even after repeated assaults. I find the book powerful enough to want to bang the drum and say as loudly and clearly as I can that Barrie ought to be widely read and revered. He ought to be a laureate for fiction everywhere, not just Ireland. Then the New Yorker today published a piece, this was their headline, The Accursed Brilliance of Sebastian Barrie. Combining verbal exuberance and narrative intricacy, Barrie reimagines the hauntings of Irish history. That's just the headline, but it's a gorgeous review of the book in the New Yorker. So maybe this will be the book. Maybe this will win the Booker Prize. Maybe he'll win the Nobel Prize at some point. But in the meantime, we have a new novel in hardcover from Sebastian Barrie, Old God's Time.
Beth Doherty's on here singing the same praises, basically saying if you haven't read Sebastian Barrie, you're missing out. And anytime I'm on the floor, I'm not on the floor that often, but it's always one that I always go back to. If you haven't read On Canaan's Side, if you haven't read The Secret Scripture, those are just perennial classics to me. And then I have people come back and go, how did I miss reading him?
Right.
How did I miss reading him?
And that's kind of a joy to be able to put these in people's hands, and they don't know they need it, but they do.
Right. And you're right, Tom. He writes, they're not big novels, but they're deep novels.
Yeah.
They cut very deep. And
one of the greatest Warwick's events, maybe one of the greatest events I've ever been to, was the Sebastian Barrie event, which was maybe for the last book or
two before. It was
okay.
Days Without End. Days Without End, and then he wrote a sequel to that.
That's right.
Thousand Moons.
But yes, but
when an author leaves his patch, I'm always like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to read that. I've seen too many authors write about LA writers. All of a sudden they want to write a book about Miami. Why? I don't know.
Right.
When Sebastian Barrie did Pioneer Historicals, I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can go with you, but might be some of his better books.
I know.
Those two books are really strong together.
So Days Without End
and Thousand Moons.
Crazy good. And he stood up and he sang.
He sang
a Civil War. I don't even know what you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it was achingly beautiful, unforgettable.
And that's the beauty of the live event. And there were maybe like 30 people in the store, but it was something that I know, Tom, anybody that was there, you will never forget that, and you can't replicate it. It
100%.
Was,
yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of somebody that just didn't, like somebody like Beryl Bainbridge, another one who never really got her due, was always, nominated for every award and never got it, and then wrote some amazing books, according to me, like The Birthday Boys. I mean, and he's just like that. It's just like he's.
And sometimes it doesn't happen. I mean, sometimes you wait and wait and wait, and it doesn't happen. Sometimes you wait and wait, and then it does finally happen. We've all seen that too. So it's a mystery, but
yeah. Oh, I didn't know that Secret Scripture was an Oprah book club pick. Beth is informing us a little bit about.
I'm sure I knew that, but I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, you're right, Tom. We did kind of go a little.
I know. Sorry about that. I thought I was going to be alone, or just me and Steve. So
yeah, but here we go.
I'll be quick from here on out.
That's okay. We love Sebastian Barrie. I can talk about Sebastian Barrie forever. So, anywho, all right, Steve, what do you got for us?
Okay, before I intro my first book, just to stick on this for a second, we have Maggie O'Farrell. We have the same thing with book after book. This will be the one. This will be the one. And we kind of gave up just before Hamnet was published, and then that was the one. So you never know. It's like we're saying, this could be like the big breakthrough.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I know it always seems like there's not tons, but a lot of great books by Irish authors out there. but especially right now, it seems to like being, we have 2 coming out this summer that are spectacular. And one's a debut called The Rachel Incident, both debuts, and one's a thriller called Calla, but both are terrific Irish novels. So you can't go wrong
I know.
with a good
true.
Irish writer.
Trespasses.
Yeah, I know.
My favorite
I
books
know.
last year.
Yeah.
My favorite
Yeah.
book last year.
Yeah, mine too.
All right. Well, my first book is an old-time sort of favorite author for many of us, Mona Simpson.
Oh,
Going back to Anywhere But Here. That was it, right? Anywhere But Here. So this is her first in quite a while. I think it's been at least 6 or 7 years, and it doesn't disappoint. It comes out tomorrow. She is just so good at writing the family novel, and that's what this is here. And she really is skilled at bringing her own personal experience into the novel. And commitment it's centered on a single mom. It starts in the late 70s, and she's fighting mental illness, and she slowly becomes unable to raise her children. And I think it starts in 79, and she's taking her oldest son to Berkeley to start college. And this is when she starts to really fall apart, and she commits herself to institution. And it's a little bit, there was a good article about her in the paper, LA Times this weekend, and one of the things she said was, her mom had mental difficulties or illness, but she never sought help, and so this is something that Mona's working through the novel. So anyway, it's about her, but it's also about the 3 kids. One who's what goes to Berkeley. There's one who, I think at the beginning, she's working at an ice cream parlor, which I found out that's also something Mona did. And then there's a little brother who everyone loves, but ends up getting into all sorts of drug and trouble and different things like that. So I'll just read you one quote from Wiki Wang. We know her from Joan Is Okay and Chemistry. And she says, "A sweeping family epic that took me from one American coast to the other, through a difficult but unforgettable time period, and through the growing pains of 3 remarkable siblings. I was immersed in their world and Simpson's masterful vision of them." So there you have it. New from Mona Simpson.
You knew that I had to go get a copy of Anywhere But Here. So this was 1986.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's a book that I have not parted with. I couldn't lots of moves since 1986, and I could never part. I love this book. So I love Mona Simpson. So it's exciting to have a new book from her.
And also, I learned in the article that she was married to a TV writer, Rich Appel, who worked on The Simpsons. And Mona Simpson is the name of, I think, Homer's mother.
Oh, I did not know that.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like the whole mental health. We had an author on. We had on Saturday game. We had Stephanie Clifford for the farewell tour, and she was talking about how like her grandmother came, left the farm at 10 and never wanted to talk about it. And I think that there's the same thing with like mental illness in the 60s and 70s. It just wasn't dealt with. It was a stigma to go get it taken care. You didn't have the same kind of things that we have today to deal with that.
You just had mother's little helpers.
And a little martini. And the kids and the kids were sent outside and don't come in until it's dark.
Until mommy wakes up.
Yeah, exactly. So anywho, we're all a little messed up. Oh, look at Kim DeVoe coming in at 4:15.
Love it.
You gotta love this, man. So I'm letting her in, and then Gabe, why don't you take it away?
All right, so my selections this week are a little different than usual. I'm usually usually heavy on the fiction, but this week, releasing tomorrow, best-selling author and
Oh.
NPR daily commentator Ari Shapiro. Strangers in the World, Stories from a Life Spent Listening. Where did I go? Am I
Where are
still
you? You're still there. Are you here?
here? Yeah, my computer shut, my screen went blank. Weird.
We still see what you got.
Okay, cool. So so this is a book of a collection of stories from Ari about the world that he inhabits, the world that he lives in. These are stories that are some backstories to some of the larger pieces that he's worked on. There's episodes here from his time flying on Air Force One with President Obama, following the path of Syrian refugees fleeing war, and then just looking and observing people fighting for justice around the world, in the United States, all over every state here, and around the world. And he comes to some conclusions, interesting insights about the world that we exist in. I think one of the things he talks about is these bubbles that we all exist in are becoming more impenetrable. And it's like, all of a sudden mask mandates became this complete revolt against society, and these people are firm, and there is nothing, it's not a health situation, it's a political decision based on this is my bubble that I'm in, and this is the side I take, right or wrong. And it's left and right. We're less tolerant of a lot of nonsense. Everybody is isolating themselves more and more and cutting complete swaths of people out of their lives. And it's going to tie into the next book I talked to, which is the paperback release of something else. But he's looking, what his ultimate goal is, looking for ways for these larger communities and getting people to listen to one another and have conversations, find connections, find commonality, and those that seem different, whether by nationality, religion, or politics. We're all human. We all inhabit the best of each other, which is, sadly seems kind of woke, which is going to upset the other side. So he's definitely in a certain camp, but I think is always interesting. He's a really sharp guy, and short pieces that'll take you around the world. And as he does find commonality amongst, like Syrian refugees and protesters around the world and politicians from either side of the aisle, we do have more in common than we have difference. And which reminds me of a funny scene from Dairy Girls. You can look it up. It's hilarious.
I love it. Now, I've been seeing a lot about this book and about him. So
yeah, so it goes on sale tomorrow, $28.99. Get it while it's hot. And he's been a bestseller before, so he's a guy who can tell a story.
And Tom, I just want to let you know that Beth Doherty thinks she is mistaken about the Oprah thing for something that she's believed for years. And she apologizes because she thinks now.
Well, I didn't remember it. I wish it were. If it wasn't, I was hoping it was true, but yeah. Thank you for the clarification. I wish Oprah, if you're watching, choose
you've missed
Sebastian Barry.
Right? Because who did she just pick? Oprah just picked. Wade's book, at the Anna Napolitano.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anna Napolitano. She picked Beautiful People, the one that wrote Dear Edward.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Can I just digress for a second? So she's on the couch. She's on the couch with Oprah, and Gayle King's, interviewing the whole bit. And so she tells Oprah, it's like, oh, so what were you doing when you found out? She goes, well, I got the phone call and I was taking my trash out. And I'm like, okay, you don't talk about taking your trash out when you're sitting on the couch with Oprah. Just saying. Make up a story.
Any story is better than that one.
Any story is better than you taking.
Oprah was like,
out.
what's trash?
My trash magically disappears. Why do you have to do something?
Andrea's working us off.
Good girl.
Like, get off the stage.
Like Oprah pays somebody to take her trash out. So I kind of like the trash story. I like that she was honest and unvarnished about what she was doing.
Oh, it was killing me.
I do too.
She could have said I was rolling a big Jaybird. And lo and behold,
Oprah's on the phone.
Coughed up my head, blew my buzz.
Speaking of Jaybirds and the 1960s, I want to talk about Joan Baez, Am I Pretty When I Fly, an album of upside down drawings from the goddess of folk music, and one of arguably one of the great singer-songwriters of the 20th century. This is not on sale officially until April 4th, but it's in stores now, and there's signed stock at your favorite bookstore, Warwick's, right now. And this is just kind of like a love letter in illustration form. Since Joan has given up her active touring and playing music, she's really she's paying attention to painting and drawing, and so she has not given up the creative spark. We're happy to see that. This book is already sold out, and we're not even at pub date. Okay, so get it while it's hot and signed at Warwick's. Am I Pretty When I Fly, Joan Baez.
I love it. I love her.
Looks
She's
great.
so good. She's
cool.
she's so cool. I just saw her recently. I can't remember what she was on. But anyways, she's just still.
She's going to be at the LA Times Festival of Books.
Yes, she is.
Ooh, that would be a reason just to go.
I know.
Because that's another one of those things like we've talked about earlier about going to concerts and stuff. It's like these are iconic people that we've got that shaped lots of music and pop culture, and
and they're not going to be around forever, and you got to go and see them.
Yep.
And so I'm excited, and I'm glad that Warwick's snapped up some of those signed copies before they went, because we sold out of those, and then I just found out that we have no more stock. So this is a first edition and a collector's item. Run down and get your copy now.
no kidding.
Andrea, her drawings remind me a little of Jules Pfeiffer.
They are a little Pfeiffer-esque.
That's good,
Yeah. They're very whimsical, and got some great celebrity blurbs for this book. Bette Midler came in, Steve Martin, Lana Del Rey. So people, different skewing in different worlds. So
Yeah. Well, because she crosses all those worlds.
yeah.
And
And she's just a genuinely lovely person. So
Beth Doherty saying stop saying signed copies are available until she can get hers.
well, and reserve yours right now, Beth.
Get on there right now, Beth.
Get on the
Online.
horn.
Beth,
Get on
I'm
the
right
horn.
with you. It's like I want to just like I'm gonna be texting Mallory, and if you see my head go down, Mallory, put one of those on my desk. Okay, Kim DeVoe, we were giving you a little grief about coming flying in at like 4:15. We were cracking up.
I'm so sorry. I literally just got home, and I'm only doing this because I'm so excited about the two books that I'm doing.
All right,
I mean,
well, your
it's
turn.
like I'm just going for it. I'm not really prepared, but I can't wait another week. So, am I on?
You're on.
Okay. My first book is Eleanor Catton's latest. She won the Booker Prize for The Luminaries. She was the youngest winner of the Booker at age 28. And her new book, Burnham Wood, is a literary eco thriller set in New Zealand. It features a sort of guerrilla gardening group that plants gardens both legally and illegally, trying to help combat ecological devastation and the evil forces of capitalism. They do things like stealing gardening equipment from people's garages, justifying that they only steal stuff if it looks like it's hardly ever used. And when they sell the produce that they grow to kind of self-fund themselves. And when the group's charismatic leader, Mira, is checking out an ideal piece of land that's been cut off by a landslide, she meets an American billionaire. He makes drones, who tells her that he's already bought the land and he's going to build his survivalist bunker there. He says, though, he hears about her, she's, you know, he says, you're trespassing, but he hears her story and he says, wow, I really like what you guys are doing and I respect this. And he says, I want to invest in you. I want to bankroll you. So she basically sells her soul to the devil. And, but the billionaire isn't really there to build a bunker. And the story becomes an all-out thriller. And I finished it in 2 days. And it's so good in so many ways. It's satirical, skewering right and left-wing politics. The writing is sublime, and the characters and their dynamics and dialogue are just fantastic. We get this story through several different perspectives, which makes it, you know, even more interesting. And just the fact that she can write a book about our current political, technical, and environmental crises and make it this much fun to read is incredible. So, yeah, this book is just it's a zinger. It packs a punch, but it's fun at the same time.
And isn't it kind of I mean, it's because I saw an article and I saw an interview with her.
Yeah,
and it's based on, like, it's got the Macbeth as the, like,
the name Birnam Wood is, you know, it's from Macbeth.
Yeah, but then also just the way that she's constructed it, right?
Yeah. She's genius. I mean, I love this book, and I think so many people would love it too. And it, you know, it's a great book club book. I'm buying it for my dad tomorrow. He wants to read it, you know. It's well, she's really smart. I mean, she's a really smart writer. So really smart. Yeah. And it's fun. It's set in New Zealand, you know.
Well, Kim Beth is on here, and she took your recommendation to read The Golden Spoon, and she thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm good. Good.
Yeah, love it.
Totally different kind of book.
Yeah, different kind of book, right?
Right.
All right, Tom. We're gonna go. We might be here for a couple hours today.
We may set a record today, but I'm gonna be quick with my next two books.
All right.
So, When in Rome by Liam Callanan, author of the first book we did by him was Paris by the Book a few years ago. So, I mean, you sense a theme here: Paris by the book, When in Rome. So the main character is Claire. She's at midlife. She's 52, and she's ready for a fresh start. She was raised by nuns, and she thought about becoming a nun, but she didn't. Now here she is. She's been sent to Rome. She's gone to Rome. Actually, she's been involved in real estate. She goes to Rome on a real estate kind of adventure with a convent there with nuns in Rome. And it makes her think, maybe this is the time, maybe she should join the convent. At the same time, an old flame of hers, Marcus, from college, so many years ago, he's also in Rome. And so there's the push and pull of these two things, faith and love, and lots of plot twists. But it takes, what's good about it too is that it takes faith seriously. It's totally fun, but it takes the Catholic faith seriously. But you just can't help but want to go to Rome, read about Rome, read guidebooks about Rome after reading this. So one of my favorite booksellers is Daniel Golden at Boswell in Milwaukee, and Liam Callanan lives in Milwaukee, so the deep connection between Daniel and Liam. But he says, after reading When in Rome, I can't imagine someone not wanting to book a flight to Italy post haste. Callanan brings the city to sparkling life, not just the well-known buildings, statues, and fountains, but equally the lesser-known streets and neighborhoods. Even graffiti becomes romantic. It's the perfect setting for this engaging and heartfelt novel. So if you're looking for just that, an engaging and heartfelt novel, When in Rome.
And if you're in San Diego, he will be at the store on Wednesday night.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. Taking him to a luncheon on the afternoon to Santa Luz, and then he'll be at the store on Wednesday night.
Oh, that's great. And I haven't seen him in person, but I bet he's a lot of fun.
Oh, he's good. We had him for Paris by the Book.
Oh,
and
excellent.
Yeah, we had him for that too. So he's fantastic. Who do we have visiting with us, Steve?
That is Sid.
Sid. Sid. Out of Sid Vicious?
No, he's very mellow. Sid Mellow, not
Sid Mellow. All right, Steve, take it away.
That's okay. All right. With no segue, I go to
Oh,
a debut novel from Julia Langbine is her name. If I pronounced it moderately correctly, called American Mermaid. And it is kind of a satire on what happens when a very popular literary novel gets turned into a movie. And so the book, there's a book called American Mermaid, a novel. It's written by this English teacher named Penelope, and she lives in the East, and out of nowhere it becomes a bestseller. And so Hollywood jumps on it. And she's lured by this, big payday. She agrees, she signs a contract, but she stipulates that she has to be a co-writer on the book, on the play, or not the play, on the screenplay. So so she starts meeting with these guys who are well-seasoned hacks, and they start really changing things a lot. I mean, she's the main character, the mermaid, it's a feminist novel, and they start turning her into like an androgynous, fierce echo warrior with a clamshell bra, and all these things start to happen. And she hates it, of course, our author. And slowly or quickly, it seems like things begin to get sabotaged on the script. There's a fire, there's all sorts of things happen. And our main character, Penelope, she's convinced that somehow her mermaid is causing all this problems to happen. So it's a lot of fun, and there are some great scenes in it, especially when she comes out to Hollywood and does some things here, goes to some parties. A little too stereotypical of what people who don't live in LA think LA is like.
but I kind of love that.
Funny, but still funny, but still very funny. So it's American Mermaid, out tomorrow.
All right. Amanda wants to know if it's Sid Barrett is your.
No. We inherited him, so I'm not sure. It could be Sid Barrett. It could be Sid Vicious.
It could be.
It could be Sid Caesar. I don't know.
I love it. All right, Gabe, what's your second book?
My second book is a kid's book, and I don't often do kids' books, but I thought this one deserved a good look.
I love those illustrations.
It is a really interestingly illustrated book. I'm gonna actually share some interiors with you, because it is a striking book. It's very dynamic art. It's very familiar art. The iconography is very Latino. You can see a lot of the Day of the Dead kind of looking things, but it is a book that is about getting to the other side. It is a book about immigration. It's about jumping on the train and getting across the border. We all know the story of immigration from to El Norte. This slide right here, this shot right here in particular, I don't know if you can really make it out, but these are people that they're thinking of what could possibly await for them on the other side. It's like a home, a really big school, a spotty dog, some of the cliches and things that we take for granted, a pair of shiny red shoes. It's a book full of hope. It's a book where it is a 12-year-old little girl with her little brother are crossing the border on their own. And the little girl makes it a game. You can't get caught by the monsters. You can't get caught by the monsters. And there's a big reward on the other side. It's a really touching book. It's got a Start Kirkus, Start Publishers Weekly. I think there's more stars to come on this. It's a really poignant little book that packs a punch. And it's beautiful. I collect a handful of kids' books. This is one of those that's going to go into my library. It is such a good read. So check it out. Like I said, the iconography is great. The art is really strong. There's a monster that you jump on top of, is trying to hitch a ride as much as you can because you're walking the rest of the way. So a book that fits in right now.
Love it. I love the everything about it sounds great, but the illustrations are amazing.
Art is really strong.
Yeah, really good.
Very, it's nice.
All right, Andrea.
This is a now in trade paper, Reptile Memoirs. This is Nordic noir, gotta love it. in the frame of Joe Nesbitt. But it has a little Gillian Flynn, Kate Atkinson, Tana French for that readership. $17 trade paperback, out tomorrow from Grove Press. It is, as you can see on the cover, if you're squeamish about large snakes, don't pick this up. But if you're not, then this is incredible. It is told from the point of view of many unreliable narrators, some more unreliable than others. There's a lost child. What else is going on in this? It's definitely got a psychological thriller aspect to it. It's really great. And the main question is, can you ever really shed your skin? So, you know, it works on a lot of different levels with that snake on the cover. This is it's pretty amazing, like what people, well, number one, Grove just went out and went head to head with a bunch of in hardcover back in the day, went head to head with a bunch of publishers, and they just said, you know, we want this title and we want to make her Silja Ulstein a house author. And so they're working on that. But people from all over, like the publisher in Denmark for this book calls it a stranglehold of a thriller that sets a new standard. And then Random House exec in Germany says that it's unusual, complex, wild, erotic, new, and challenging in every respect. A must read. So, I mean, it's getting those kinds of reviews all over. The New York Times says it's part fairy tale, part psychological thriller. This tale follows a missing child, a damaged young woman with a pet Burmese python, and other inhabitants of a Norwegian coastal town. So it's got a lot going for it. I think that this is going to work for people that are picking up books in paperback for their and they're not afraid to do crime and mystery and psychological thriller stuff for their book groups.
Yep. I love that one of the reviews said a stranglehold, and that snake has just got her right by the throat there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell you, Andrea, you talked about Monstrilio last week. We're already sold out. We got more on order.
Okay,
I need
good.
to get that book. I wanted it desperately, and I missed. Gotta wait now. I
You know
can't wait.
somebody who can write you up for a finished copy.
Okay, thank you. I was like, whoo. Because I was going to the store tomorrow, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick that one up. All right.
I'm still thinking about that cover.
It's such a good cover. Just the whole premise of it, though. I mean, I'm sorry. The premise of it is just like so twisted. I can't wait.
It's creepy. I think it's going to do super well too, and have a nice life. So
Yeah. Okay, Kim.
Okay, you know what, to spare you my awful okay, here we go. My next book, which I am extremely excited about, that Tom was kind enough to send to me. I hadn't heard of this, and I loved it. If you need like a super fun, zany, emotionally wonderful, uplifting read with lots of family dysfunction, this is your book.
What's the title?
It's called The Dog Day of the North, which is actually the name of the van. The book is kind of set in a road trip kind of structure, and but there is a dog too. And thank you, Tom. This got me out of like a terrible rut in my life, in my own life. And Elizabeth Mackenzie, the author, was nominated for the National Book Award for her previous book, The Portable Vellum.
Dublin.
Yeah. So this is a contemporary book. It's set on a road trip from Santa Cruz to Santa Barbara. And the main character, Penny Rush, is a 30-something-year-old, recently divorced, hasn't found herself. She just quit her like umpteenth, dead-end job as a dental receptionist. And her parents, she's from this crazy family, but loving. And her sort of crazy parents moved to Australia, where her sister lives, but then her parents are avid sort of scientist explorer types. And when they were exploring camping, they disappeared about a year ago. And her grandparents are kind of zany. And her grandmother is like a famous scientist, an inventor who like worked on secret projects for like the CIA and stuff like this over her career. But she now has early dementia, and Adult Protective Services is like threatening to, remove her from her home for her own safety. And her grandfather, they're divorced to the grandmother. His new wife is threatening to put him in an old folks home because she's young and she, wants to spend the money without him, to take care of. So Penny sets off from, it's in California, Santa Cruz to Santa Barbara, to kind of sort out the grandparents' problems. And it's just hysterically funny. And there's everything in it you could ever want, even a little romance. And she's a little bit on the spectrum kind of character, and she's very anxious, but she's so relatable. And the story is just delightful. And, you fall in love with every single character. It's one of those books.
As quirky as every single character is.
Yeah. They're all completely nuts.
They're kooks. They're all kooks.
Yeah, but you love every single one of them. And of course, the dog steals the show. So I can't recommend this highly enough. And I don't think it's getting the attention that it deserves.
I think, Tom, maybe that is his.
So this is a dual presentation. Thank you, Kim.
Yes.
I was hoping this would happen because I was going to do that book second, and I thought maybe Kim will talk about Dog of the North, and I'll chime in, and so that worked out perfectly. So yes, this is my pick, and I
think that we planned this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad.
Perfect planning. But I can't. There's not much more to add except I love the Portable Vellum. That is equally crazy and bizarre and wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love this book so much. It's got so much heart, and yet these characters, only Elizabeth Mackenzie could come up with these characters, and to have Penny go from down to Santa Barbara to kind of sort things out, but she's confronted by one mess after another.
Crazy. One catastrophe after another. So many trips to the hospital. I can't even tell you. And I mean, just, it's just so funny. Yeah.
And completely original. She's a voice that it's just her own. The one good thing, is I agree with you. It deserves more attention. But it is long listed for the Women's Prize just last week.
Oh,
so
really?
That's a good early sign that, the book is just out. The book came out last week.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
So there's more stuff coming, I think.
Excellent.
Excellent. Dog of the North by Elizabeth Mackenzie.
It has the cutest cover. Yeah, it does.
Love it.
And to have the dog be the van. The dog of the title. And then there's Queecoats, who's the actual dog.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
No, I love this, Tom. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, Steve, what's your lightning round?
Well, just to follow up, I know this is completely different story-wise, but there was something, the way you're describing the book and the feel of the book and the dog, that made me think maybe this is a good book for someone who liked lessons in chemistry.
There you go.
Just looking for, some.
You're right.
Absolutely. Or Eleanor Oliphant, all those kinds of books. Yeah. the
Thank you,
Gunkel.
Steve. That's a very good idea. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody wants the next lessons in chemistry. Everyone comes
Right.
into the store. I just finished lessons in chemistry. I loved it. What else do you recommend? And you're like, oh, duh.
Okay. All right. Again, with no segue, I have a nonfiction book. I rarely put these
Yay.
in here, but this is Alan Lightman, who did Einstein's Dream and the Accidental
right.
Universe. This one's called The Transcendent Brain. And it's him philosophizing, going into the scientific nature in some ways of a transcendental experience, and not going into it in a religious point of view. It's just like trying to, that sometimes it can be a piece of music or a work of art, or you're in nature and you just feel like the spiritual transcendence, but there's no, you don't feel religious about it, and there's no, as far as scientific explanation. And he kind of delves into that and explores what that's about, what it could be scientifically about, philosophically. So it's just very interesting. I think like people who like Krista Tippett, even Richard Powers, that kind of reader would enjoy this. So it's from Alan Lightman, The Transcendent Brain. It came out last week.
Okay, perfect. Always need to have a good nonfiction title in there too. Okay, Gabe.
Oops,
You-
sorry.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
go, girl. You can go.
Oh.
You're there.
Oh,
You can
really?
go. Yeah,
sorry.
we'll finish strong. We'll just finish
You got
strong. That's all.
Excited to talk about this
You got
book.
angry.
Andrea is got the hook out.
She's
just
got
like-
a serious hook, man.
I'm just getting out of her way. You just go ahead, whatever you want, Andrea.
I am a pugilist. Look out. No, I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm just so excited to talk about this book, Twist, an American Girl. This is from Adele Bertai, who writes her book in the voice of her alter ego, Maddie Twist, which was her alter ego when she was in a punk band back in the day. This is set in 60s and 70s America, and it's definitely a working class book. She basically lives to tell this tale after a harrowing upbringing, syncopated by deep poverty, a mother who increasingly grows insane, a lot of loss, it's pretty harrowing, but it's also so wonderfully written. And as the notes in the description of this book in the catalog says, it wages war against the cliche of the misery memoir, and it surely does. It's so because it is such a story of redemption through just grit, intelligence, and learning that, as she says, goodness is the antidote to suffering and the heart song of communion. I mean, from the author's note that leads off the book, I started crying while reading the author's notes, because this woman can write, and it's totally affecting her language. The story is amazing. And then people like Lydia Lunch talks about how amazing it is. The great LA writer Jerry Stahl says that this is a dark, demented, horrific, and hilarious shot to the heart of American girlhood. Adele Bertai was gender fluid before gender even entered the lexicon. Her writing is miraculous, but the bigger miracle may be that the author survived to write it. And lucky for us, she did. This is a book to love. This is just incredible. $28 hardcover, out last week from Z Books. And I hope that you go and pick this up if you're interested in the time period and want to read a story that the arc of the story is just hard to it's hard to explain, like the ups and downs, and but also I just have so much hope for humanity after reading this book, because this person overcame hatred, just abuse of all sorts, to make herself anew. And if she can do it, we can all do it.
I love it. No, it sounds really intriguing. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, Gabe.
So this is a little history. We're packaging it as true crime, but it's a slice of history. It is definitely true crime. So trip out on this. 1920s Hungary, town called Nagyev. It is a pretty benign moment in history there. And there is this, it's a huge murder ring, basically. There is this, at the center of it is this smiling Buddha-like woman who is a midwife. And it happened not by chance, but very planned. She would distill arsenic from flypaper. And then she'd carry around these little vials of arsenic. And Hungary, 1920s, misogyny, women were chattel, husbands were abusive, drunk. This is how you got rid of your problem. You went to Auntie Susie and she slipped you a vial, and your abusive husband died. And that was it. Unfortunately, good riddance. I'm like 50-50 on that. I can go either way with that. But what people started doing was, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I might have a possible inheritance coming. Oh, my parents are becoming a real pain because they're so old and messed up. I'm gonna slip you a little vial of arsenic. I'm gonna slip you a little vial of arsenic. So 1929, anonymous letter comes through to the Hungarian authorities and Justice Department, and they investigate. And this is not a funny story. I don't know why I'm laughing. But so this book takes you from the very first handoff to the very last hanging of these people. Something like 160 people are speculated to have died in this period of time. So I found it fascinating. The reading was great. We did another nonfiction book, The Blue Sparrow, about the Cuban woman's female spy. That was her sister was a spy and her dad was like in the military and stuff. And that's a really good narrative. This was also unputdownable. You want to keep reading. It's really a trip. So
Holy cow. Where did you say we were, in Hungary or Romania?
Hungary.
Okay. Well, they got their own issues going on these days, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. There might be another Auntie Susie coming up soon. If things don't change there a little
A
bit.
little darker than arsenic and old lace.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Holy cow. Kim, you don't have a third book, correct?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Is that
You go.
okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is a fun one. I'm listening to this book, and it's a great audiobook. It's and I don't think it's out yet. I think it comes out I'm not sure, like in May or something, but it's called Sun Damage by Sabine Durant. And the below on the cover of the book, it says, quotes, the perfect poolside reading by like The Guardian or something. And that's exactly what this is. It features a pair of 20-something-year-old, very charismatic con artists who travel the world conning rich people out of money. And they're very good at it. But on a boat in France one day, one of their cons goes very, very wrong. And one of them ends up fleeing and taking on the identity of someone else. And she has to, she goes to the south of France, which is where the rest of the book takes place, which is lovely. And she impersonates a young woman who took a job as a cook, a chef for a very wealthy family staying at some villa, in the south of France. And it's one of these slow burn kind of, but extremely tense and kind of fun. Lots of satirical pokes at the rich people and stuff like that. And it's very fun. And the young woman who takes on the new identity is fleeing the con artist she used to partner with. I can't really tell you anything without giving it all away, but it's very like juicy, silly, fun poolside reading.
Love it. Gotta have those too.
Awesome.
Okay, I had a couple books I wanted to talk about today, but I'm going to save them because they're not anything that's out soon anyways. Just some backlist I was going to tell you about. So I'll save that for a day when we don't have such great people here talking about new books that are coming out tomorrow. So we went a little long today, but I love it because Steve was here, Kim was here, Andrea, Gabe, Tom. Had some good stuff.
Under
going
an
on.
hour.
I know. As we were starting, I was like, we're gonna be here for a while.
Well, I took about 15 minutes for Sebastian Barry, so we
Yeah,
did-
so maybe we kick you off.
Oh,
next
I'm
time.
so excited about that book.
I know, I know.
I'm his biggest fan.
I don't know. I think we might have to arm wrestle about that.
I know Warwick's has
Okay.
a lot of fans. I love
There
it.
we go. Yeah, he is so
Yeah.
good. All right,
Stacey
everybody.
turned me on to him.
Who did?
Stacy
Oh.
Hare.
Okay, well,
Oh.
wait a minute. I'm going to take that because I
Ooh.
turned Stacy on to him.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
So I'm taking that, Rec.
But yeah, no, years
I'm taking
ago I
that one
went
back.
in. Years ago I went
Well,
in
you
and
two
I
talk
was,
about Sebastian Barry. I'll just keep holding up the book.
yeah, please do.
Well,
He's
we'll
a
keep
god.
fighting. We'll keep fighting offline. Everybody's got to go. Thanks everybody for being here. Happy reading. We will see you
Thank you.
all next week. Thanks, Andrea.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.